Finally, some more excitement in qualifying. What a session. Unbelievable session. Let's get into it now. Thanks for joining another episode of Race Number 1. All right, guys. Part of me, I'm going to be open and honest. I'm actually starting to feel a bit gutted that we've only got 4 more qualifying sessions left for the remainder of the year, because it's starting to get exciting again. So let's get into it. First, obviously, fantastic job by Charles. He did the same thing last year, but obviously last year he had to take the engine penalty, I think it was. So he couldn't actually start on pole. But this time, Charles, unbelievable. It didn't look like, to be fair, in the FP1 session, didn't really look like Ferrari was going to have much to do. It looked like it was going to be a battle between Max and Lewis. Then all of a sudden, Charles, you've pulled it out of the bag, mate. Absolute stellar performance. Can't ask for anything more. Brilliant, absolute brilliant performance. And also from Carlos Sainz, who managed to get up into P4 as well. So, Charles, fantastic job. Once again, obviously, this track suits the Ferrari. Obviously, they've gone for the low downforce package, or a bit less downforce. So, they've got a smaller rear wing, which is giving them more top speed. However, in the race, we know their tyres are going to get used and abused very early on. So, prediction, is Charles going to finish in the top 3? Very unlikely, unfortunately, just because of their tyre wear situation. The Ferrari is like a shredder. Now, moving on, P2, Lando Norris, another one who just came out of the blue. He was even down talking, everyone was down talking McLaren's chances this weekend. A few of us were sceptical, going, well, you're almost the second best on the grid anyway, in terms of the car. The car's almost the second best on the grid, sorry, not the driver. Oscar's way better than Lando. Potentially. Anyway, Lando pulled it out of the bag. Didn't look like he was there in practice. It seemed to be struggling. I think it was the exit of turn 13 was a bit all over the place. Lo and behold, he's managed to pull it out of the bag. He's managed to grab himself P2. Now, let's touch base on the man, the man, the myth, the legend, none other than the GOAT, Lewis Hamilton. P3, unfortunately, a bit disappointing, really. It looks like this new floor that the Mercedes have brought is definitely worked for Lewis. George is struggling because George is struggling. Nothing that we're not used to. But unfortunately, yeah, a bit gutting. Lewis only managing to get P3. It looked like he had the potential. He was really up for it. I don't know what happened. Not a great performance from Lewis. It looked like the car was performing really well, and if anyone's going to put their money on it, I would have been the first to put a couple of quid on Lewis to grab pole. It's a bit disappointing from him, but hopefully at least he's starting on the clean side on Sunday. So hopefully he can get round turn 1 safely. Fingers crossed. Please, we cannot deal with another crash within the first 30 seconds of the bloody lap. That would be awful. So fingers crossed, Lewis, you can get past one of them at the beginning, and then I think you'll chase down the other one very early on. And potentially this is Mercedes' race to win, I feel. Lewis has definitely got a good chance of winning this. I just hope he can actually get this one, because it's been a while since he's actually won a race. Then P4, we've got Carlos Sainz. Again, not a bad job from Ferrari, but we know they've got the low downforce package, or smaller downforce package, so we know it's going to hurt them in the race. And, you know, like I mentioned already, their car is a shredder, so we're not overly concerned with Carlos being in P4, with George tucked up right behind him in P5. Now, George had a really difficult weekend, or first practice session, sorry. He just couldn't get to grips with the car. He was losing balance. It was all over the place. And to be fair to him, he's managed to get it into P5. He's managed to stick it in P5. So, well done, George, because I know you was having a few troubles with this car this weekend. So, fair play to George. And then, who we got? None other in P6 than the 2-time world champion, Max Verstappen. I don't know what happened with Max. I really do not know what happened with Max. He was doing superb, and then I think track limits on his last penultimate lap, boom, that's it, dropped his time. But he's starting to show signs of being frustrated. Max, you've won the championship, right? You've got a high chance, no matter where you start on Sunday, to win the race. You don't need to get frustrated with GP and the rest of your team again. It's a constant drama. I think these drivers, the pressure they're under is, all right, incredible, but just how rude. So you hear it sometimes. You know, you used to hear it with Lewis. You hear it with Lando quite frequently. And you definitely hear it with Max being quite rude to his team members back on the radio. Is there really a need for it? Like, you're winning everything, mate. Just calm down. The team, granted, made a bit of a mistake, but hold it together and at least keep the car on the white lines, right? Anyway, going on to P7, we've got Pierre Gasly on an Alpine, and then Esteban Ocon right behind him, and then none other, just before we close out the top 10, Sergio Perez. Sergio, I know you feel the pressure. I know you feel the pressure, mate. I've seen a few comments. Christian Horner's trying to back you as best he can. He's saying you've been in the simulator for 3 days straight, and you get beat by both Alpines. That is not going to help your cause whatsoever, mate. Please just try your absolute best, Sergio, and get a contact-free race on Sunday. He's definitely going to need to do some work later on today in the sprint to try and earn some respect back, because he's just had an absolute disaster, and I really don't think he'll be there next year. Even if he remains P2, I think they'll get rid of him. I think knowing that next year it looks like the teams are closing up to Red Bull. It looks like Mercedes is getting there. McLaren is definitely there. So do they really want Sergio in the car next year? The potential risk and losing the team championship is not one that Red Bull would want to give up easily. Anyway, then closing out top 10, we've got none other than Oscar. I don't know what happened with Oscar. He had a little bit of a wobbly in free practice 1. I don't know if that knocked his confidence. We saw last week, we saw him actually get a victory in the sprint race, which was fantastic for him. However, I'm not sure what is going on in his qualifying. Maybe it was just his, he had a terrible free practice 1 session. He went off the track, almost lost it. Brilliant, absolute brilliant control to keep it on the track, to keep it out of the barriers. And maybe his confidence just took a massive beating there. All right, guys, so that's the lineup for the top 10 for Sunday's Grand Prix. Let me know what you think. What's your predictions? Who do you think is going to take home the victory on Sunday? And also, what's your predictions for later on tonight? We've got the sprint race and the sprint shootout. Let me know in the comments below. Guys, if you're enjoying the content that I'm producing, please just give this video a like and also subscribe to my channel.